Elite orienteering. The sport of orienteering has developed greatly in the last few decades and is now an elite sport. Today, orienteering means precision and concentration. The splendid specially prepared maps of today, drawn to a scale of 1 to 15,000, give the competitors a more equal chance. The decisive factor that enables competitors to solve orienteering problems is running ability combined with clear thinking. The objective is to get round all the many control points on the course in the shortest possible time and stamp the starting card in the correct squares. You can compete in orienteering from the age of 10. There's a suitable class for everyone. This makes orienteering a widely based sport that all members of the family can take part in. There are many competitions during the season, the largest being the 5-day orienteering event with over 20,000 competitors from 30 or more countries. The basis of the orienteering movement are all the smaller competitions that take place every weekend during the season. Competitions where the competitors range from 100 or so to over 1,000. Each weekend in Sweden, there are over 10 such competitions. Naturally, as far as the elite are concerned, it is the World Championships that is the goal. In 1985, the World Championships took place for the first time outside of Europe, in Australia. This is what the winner of the women's class, the marvellous Anniken Trinstad, thought.
Good, very clean and good running terrain, and it's fantastic. These rocks, they are very special terrain. I have never been running in anything like this before. Because running 55 minutes in this type of terrain, it's not very hard. It's the easiest world champion course I have ever run.
After having been a purely Nordic sport for many years, orienteering has now spread to more or less the whole of the rest of the world. Are the chances similar when you orienteer in different countries? We put the question to Jörgen Mårtensson, who has visited many countries during his career. Well, you ought to be able to orienteer in any type of terrain, whether you run in typically Nordic terrain like this, or in a park in Manila in the Philippines. That's also orienteering. I've had to run in some very strange places, and some people have thought that this isn't proper orienteering. But it's still a question of getting to all the control points as quickly as possible, and getting from start to finish in the fastest possible time. I consider that to be orienteering as well.
Som möjligt och ta sig från start till mål på den snabbast möjliga.
It's possible to get very good orienteering virtually anywhere in the world, even though in some places it's a bit difficult with jungles and so on. But on the whole, the possibilities for orienteering exist all over the world.
Svårt med djungel och sånt, men i stort sett i hela världen finns det orienteringsmöjligheter.
Orienteering has a great chance of establishing itself all over the world as an elite sport and as a spare time exercise activity. Let's listen to what Jörgen has to say as he runs a difficult stretch of an orienteering course.
Försöker hålla kontakt med kartan hela tiden.
I try to have contact with the map all the time. It's necessary to fine orienteer on a stretch like this to know exactly which direction to go when you leave the control. Otherwise, it's easy to go wrong for a minute or so, and that can lose you the competition. We'll follow Jörgen in the forest and see how he solves the problem out on the course.
Då vill jag ta den så enkelt som möjligt.
When I want to reach the control as simply as possible, I run up to that long, narrow height and follow it, while at the same time I mark several points on the way. The first I shall pass is a hollow. There were 3 hollows, and I went up through the middle one and ran up to the high ground and saw that I had 2 hollows on the right-hand side. Then I caught sight of a steep slope to the right, a couple of 100 meters before the control. Then, all I had to do was to go over a little slope in a flat area and then up to the high ground where the hollow and the control were situated. That went all right. There was no problem in reading the map. I reached the control thanks to the fact that I saw the slope beforehand, so there were no problems there. The next stretch is somewhat longer, but the terrain is good and suggests a choice of route straight through it without any great deviations. Notice that Jörgen looks out for terrain features the whole time he's running.
Jag sprang ner från berget och sen så passerade jag ett litet
I ran down the hill, then I went over a little stretch of wet ground, up a little hill that had a small slope beside it.
På en höjd som hade en brant på sidan av sig. Sen så sprang jag över ett åsparti.
Then I ran over some ridges, down into a little hollow, then up onto the next bit of high ground. There I saw those steep slopes that I'd decided would be my halfway point to the control. I passed those,
passerade dem. Läste av en
checked a
sten.
rock on the map,
Sen kom jag in i ett fint
and came into a
område med
fine area with a very thin scattering of pine trees, allowing good
där man hade
visibility.
bra sikt. Och då skulle jag hålla till höger om ett bergsparti.
I should keep to the right of
Jag
some
hade
hills.
stenar uppe
I
till
had
vänster
rocks
om
on
mig.
my left.
Jag såg ett par
I saw a
stycken.
few, continue by a rather obvious edge of a hill, and then I only had to run round the bottom of that,
Och sen
and
skulle
there
jag
was the
bara svänga
control
upp
in a little
den lilla
hollow.
höjden och få kontrollpunkten, en sankmark. Och där satt den.
With today's fine detailed map, the elite runner often makes directly for the control in a straight line if the terrain allows. This means being constantly aware of the map. The skill of orienteering is to know exactly where you are on the map all the time. You must have complete command of map and compass. One runner that has is the 1986 World Cup champion Kent Olsson. I run along a small path until I find a good place to go in. I see that I've a piece of open marshland a little further on, marked in yellow. Run down and see the open marshland. Utilize the path, noticing that it goes in the right direction. Use it as long as possible till I see some high ground on the right. Check to the left to make sure there's nothing there that isn't on the map. Looks fine, so I know that I'm right. Then, run to the edge of the hill and see the steep slope where the control is sitting. Quick stamping, and I know that I can return more or less the same way that I came. Decide to run the length of the ridge and do so.
Gör så, kommer. Men när jag sprungit över en bit så börjar jag se att jag har en sjön på höger sida. Och stannar och får se
Come
att
out to
det är
swampland.
långt eller alldeles för långt till
But
höger.
when
en
I've gone a
bit
bit
långt till höger.
further, I see that I've swung too much to the right. Correct quickly to the left and go up the high ground that lies just before the control. Pass the high ground, calm down and catch sight of the control marker.
Sen då mot nästa.
Then on to the next control. It's more or less straight ahead, running when the terrain is good. Concentration on the job is important. You mustn't relax for a moment. You must check the map and the terrain continuously. The elite runner does this on the move. He reads the map and the terrain as he goes along. It wastes too much time to stop and look at the map. At the control, it's necessary to have a new route ready for the next control. Quick decisions are needed. Stamping at the control mustn't be careless. It's part of the competition to put the stamp in the right square. Not one pinprick is allowed outside the borders of the square. Otherwise, you risk disqualification. The rules are strict on this point. What does Christina Blomqvist, third in the World Championship in Australia, think is most important for an elite orienterer?
To be good at the actual skill of orienteering, not just a good runner. Most mistakes are made when you've run too fast and don't know where you are on the map.
We can also follow Christina for a stretch in the forest and listen to what she has to say. The first thing I do is to try and locate big features. Then I try to have a general idea of a route to the control. Then I run and check the big features on the map. When I get nearer to the control, I read the map more carefully and know which feature the control is at and find it. After the control, I ran down from the high ground towards the stream directly northwards. Then I checked the glade on the map, and immediately after that, I crossed the path. I had the big hill to the left and followed the edge of it down towards the open swampland. I crossed the path that was quite indistinct. Then I ran up between those large rocks towards the border of a pile of stones. I ran up one of the highest points on the high ground, and behind that was the control between the high point and the big hill. Today, orienteering is an exacting sport that demands much of the participants. Good detailed maps ensure that the conditions and opportunities are the same for all the competitors, and make orienteering one of the world's most interesting sports. To encourage the elite to participate in the 5-day competition in Sweden, Silva has donated an elite competition trophy, the Silva Cup. The winner of the women's class in the 1986 competition was Anniken Kringstad, here receiving the cup from Hans Gunnar Tillander, the managing director of Silva.